Hey, chess fans. This is Joe Bennett. I'm going to show a blitz game I played. Happened to win it. It was this variation of the French defense that I like a lot. One of the basic advanced line, and I went with the daring f7 to f6 here. See if there's really any tactical shots that embarrass black. Um, I happened to win the game. Yeah, I'm not sure if f6 was a little too nutty here or not, but we'll see how smooth it was. Really, apparently, bishop f4 gives a little bit of an advantage here to white. My opponent just took, and I'm not sure that was that great because I could take here and I have a lot of pawns in the center, and then the opponent took here. I took with the bishop, and then they're preparing to hit the bishop. I ended up having the big center, and it was a really active game. You can see that he probably played not perfect. He got a little greedy and won the exchange, and he says it's an advantage to white, but I was able to keep playing, and I ended up winning like this. Really putting pressure on him, and just got really aggressive. And this is starting to win a lot for black. But I think for purposes of this video, I'm gonna say f6 isn't too great because they can play the bishop out to f4. If you look at this with the computer right now, before f6, computer says there's a pretty slight advantage to white, and they're actually recommending what I played as the top choice. I'm wondering if the computer thinks that f5 is a valuable alternative, and in this type of position, b the king side attack with h6 and everything. But I guess this isn't that great for black because white can force a6 because the knight coming in and hitting the queen would be pretty strong. And then you move like here, knight c2 would be really good. And even with c4, black's starting to get exposed. So actually, we'll go back to what I played. Let me see. Where's that move? Yeah, d8, c7. I like the queen here in this line, castle. And then they're saying f6 is what I played, and then this apparently is a really good move, but right now this pawn's pinned and can't be taken. They're looking at this with a pretty good game for black. I know it's kind of an interesting position, but it doesn't seem all too clear that white would have a huge advantage here. This is pretty strong, and then play that move, a6, prevent the knight coming in and harassing the queen so the queen can stay on this nice square. And I actually don't mind this position for black. Taking the pawn on f6 isn't possible because the bishop's gonna hang. Then the queen can take the bishop, and then white takes the knight on e7, but then black just captures back with the bishop and develops a piece ready to castle on the king side if they want to. Queen side too, probably okay. I'm gonna actually probably go with this line anyway, because even the top computer choice here is moving the bishop from e2 to d3, so that almost makes it seem like the bishop was misplaced, and then it's not that crushing for white. White has some moves like taking in the center and everything, which is really good. But if we this isn't even that much advantage for white, but if we take in the center and don't allow them to have that threat of taking on c5, which is really the center. I mean, these four squares here are the center, but then there's outer center, there's inner center, and outer center. So let's not let them take here on the outer center and win the pawn in this position. Knight g6 is actually pretty strong here for black. I'm not saying the position's better, but it's good play. And then the pawn's covered again by the bishop on c5. So if they wanted to exchange in the outer center, then bishop takes back, develop the bishop, and then we'd have a lot of pawns in the center. I'm looking at really the best moves for the computer. It doesn't seem like this is completely crushing for white really at all. Looks like black's equalized and all the pawns are coming towards the center, and really white's pieces aren't getting too many great squares, and an attack on the king side can be prepared, and also this rook is very good. And I kind of really honor this computer line a lot, because in the French defense, I have a little thing I do, and if this square is available for the king, sometimes it can be really, really good, and the other rook's ready to come into the attack on the king side, and the king actually turns out to be really safe. So this line looks fine for black. Looking at it, honestly, the computer wasn't really coming up with too much, so I like that. I like that line a lot, and that was after f7 to f6. After they castle, and then f6 comes, and then this was the top computer move. I don't know about this bishop to e2 and then to d3. So I guess when they put the bishop on e2, it's fine to play f6 right away. Not right away, but it's fine to play f6 early. I guess if the bishop was on d3, it might be a different case. So that line was pretty much fine for black, with the move knight on g, a7, g to g7, and then we force a7 to a6, and after that, white has a few moves here. If there's this kind of thing, most likely equalize. The bishop looks like it's going to be guarded, well enough, but we can sidestep this and say, okay, well, you took a couple moves to the bishop getting on that diagonal. Now I'm going to switch my plan and move the queen here. And it looks like, white has a tiny advantage, but, they're white. You know, I wouldn't say that there's too much. What do they call it? Initiative or momentum for white that they can actually roll through. You see, the advantage went down to 0.18 right here. Makes sense after a6 to bring the knight back here, and the line that the computer is giving here is knight actually gets to jump to f5, and that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool square for it, and we might be able to exchange it for the bishop on g3. And I'm gonna say this is fine. I totally play this game all the time, so that was cool if they went back. So that's kind of the line there. One thing that I'm wondering about, maybe for the next video, but maybe for this one, depending on what the computer says, bishop d3 for some reason ain't as good. Oh, now I see. So bishop d3 right away. White can actually win this pawn. There isn't that trap with the bishop check. Actually, white can't win the pawn, but put pressure on the pawn. And there isn't that trap when the bishop gets to check because my bishop's on d7, so it isn't like if the queen ends up there, there's not going to be a discovered attack and win the queen with bishop b5, because bishop b5 isn't a check. So bishop d3 can actually just exchange and then put more pressure on that square. Looks equal. Yeah, that kind of shows why bishop d3 ain't that good, because you can get a tempo there. Funny enough, the top computer move is here to put the bishop back to protect this pawn. Yeah, so you see like that queen has a lot of value coming to b6 if the bishop's on d3. So there you go. Another French advance video with the f6 flare. Enjoy.